Hello and welcome to the Inferno. It is episode 4 of the Temptation podcast. So, I was inspired to start this playlist on my channel because of a lot of life events that are happening in my life. And so my hopes are always that it encourages everybody who tunes in to listen. But it's also a way for me to channel all of the energy that I have flowing through me. And today's episode of the Inferno is inspired yet again by Jordan Peterson. And this is the topic of strong men and weak men. Of course, we can switch it up and say strong women, weak women as well. So, if you think that tough men are dangerous, wait until you see what weak men are capable of. And that is a quote by Jordan Peterson. So, again, always referencing the good wolf, bad wolf, what we're feeding. What is a strong man? What is a weak man? A strong man protects the feminine. A strong man is the doer, the protector, the one who makes their significant other feel safe. And what is the weak man? One that's not willing to show their vulnerability with those that love them. What is a weak man? A weak man is a quitter. Somebody who just cashes in their experiences, tramples on, causes destruction to those that have invested their heart and soul to them. And so, collectively I was thinking about this. We are in such intense times. And it's really showing the weaknesses in man, right? Or women. Lying, cheating, untruths. Stepping into relations with others when you're still married or still living or still involved with somebody who's invested their heart in you. That's a weak man. How do we overcome our weaknesses? Well, first of all, alone time, self-reflection, being able to stand in truth without needing people outside of you for admiration, for validation. And I won't lie, I thought I was a strong woman. And in a lot of ways I am, because I give my heart and soul, although I'm not perfect, to those that I love. My daughter brought up something today about the irritability and stuff that I have definitely been guilty of. And I reflected on that after she said it to me, and I thought, how can I make that better in me? And that is by getting up every single morning and trying to be a better person. Again, I'm not perfect. Nobody is. What is a strong man? One who steps up and protects his woman against competition. Strong man is one that of an integrity will not allow the games of this world, the deception, the temptation of this world to demolish and home wreck not only those that love the weak man, strong man, but those of themselves, even destroying themselves. And so if you're one that believes that your happiness is going to be found just by stepping out and checking in with new faces and new people, you're lying to yourself. I'm lying to myself, in which I haven't, but just reflections of all of this, because I have so much stirring within me. And I'm always the type of person that self-reflects anyway on how I can be better and do better. And a weak man will just cave and throw in the chips and gamble everything that they've invested in their home and their life and their wife. This goes for women too. To just toss it all in and think that I'm a new person because I've moved on with somebody else, sometimes even overlapping. I've witnessed that in my life. We're at a point in time in our society that we actually need to start condemning and judging the behaviors of the weak men, weak women. Because let me tell you, as the feminine, a healed feminine, we're supposed to lift each other up. We're supposed to be the nurturers. We're supposed to be the soft place to land when your husband or wife comes home. We're supposed to create that nurturing environment where you support somebody, but at the same time, you don't enable things. You try to communicate that with people. So we're at a point karmically. And if you have invested a bunch of time in with somebody and you've just bounced into relations with somebody else, you're continuing that karmic pattern. You actually share that karma because you have unsettled business from those investments in that time that were mutually invested in each other. We have to be those women who lift other women up, not be in competition, not speaking seduction into the men that we know that are married or even in relations with another. It's actually very heartbreaking and destructive. See, true spirit creates, strong men create, strong women create. But weak men and women, it's about destruction. It's about short-lived, temporary highs. So we really, as a society, do need to start judging and condemning not the people, but the behavior of the people that are on this path of being weak to the flesh. I'll be very honest, I'm an empty cup right now, full of turmoil and hurt. So I'm in the Inferno. I went from feeling like I was stable, feeling like my relationship to my husband was stable, to being completely blindsided by destruction. So these strong men always protect their feminine. The feminine can't even be her true, receptive, nurturing self when she feels like there's landmines going off constantly around her. That's what weak men do. These weak men and weak women who are in that chaos of being in competition, flirting and fucking with other people's husbands or wives, they can fool themselves by moving on to somebody else or shacking up and sleeping with somebody else's husband or wife. But really, you're only fooling yourself, and you can't fool God. So the signs that you are a weak woman or a weak man is lack of rest, and I'm definitely in that category right now on the receiving end of putting my all into something that is currently in the making of being destroyed. Signs that you're a weak man or a woman is also you having to search outside of yourself for distractions, whether it be another person, whether it be addictions. And those weak men and weak women cringe at those who are in their authenticity, who value themselves, who value their marriage, their relationships, their bonds. They cringe at it. I can almost see the laughing of that evil type of energy. Ultimately, God elevates those who are in truth. So when you're not in truth, and when you're a weak man or a woman, and you're lying and you're deceiving and you're cheating and you're backstabbing and you're making jokes and slandering somebody's character, you will not be elevated. You may feel like you are temporarily. Again, that chase in the beginning of seeking out new flesh is temporary. It's not sustaining. But God does elevate those who are in truth and integrity. We always have the opportunity to start feeding the good wolf instead of the bad wolf. Keep that in mind. And lastly, I just want to leave it at this today. If you are in a moment of weakness, which we all go through, but being in weakness and being on a path of self-destruct and hurting others and hurting yourself ultimately at the end of the day, will end up burning. And we always have the opportunity to get back on the right, to repent, so to speak, right? To make the crooked straight. And I don't believe it's too late for anybody while we're still breathing. And then again, if you believe in karma like I do, all of those things, all of that enmeshment with people that you're laying up with that is not of integrity, and you have a wife or a husband at home, them enmeshments, those karmic things that are happening will just evolve into chaos and destruction. You can't lie. You can't lie to the universal truth, the universal law, God's law. 2 Samuel 22:40. For you equipped me with strength for the battle. You made those who rise against me sink under me. That is really a law of karma, right? Universal law. What we give out, what we do to others will be returned to us. Lack of rest, I'm in it. I've been reflecting upon I can't even say codependency anymore. I was codependent when I first got together, but I've grown a lot since my son's passed away. But having the false illusion of stability in my home, in my marriage, my home has been destroyed. So the lack of rest is for real for me. But for the weak man who's lying to themselves and trying to fool God, and they're shacked up with somebody when they're married, that's all distractions. You'll have lack of rest. You will fuel your addictions, whether it be sex, pornography, alcohol, drugs. You'll cringe at those who speak truth because you just don't want to hear it. You haven't repented. You haven't went into your own inner divine to do the healing. So I hope this reaches somebody, anybody who may need it, because I surely do need to get this up and out of me. And I thank you so much for joining me on episode 4 of the Inferno. Remember, this world is crazy with, not the world, but the society right now, with so much destruction. So the stability in the home is more than ever so very important. You always have the opportunity to start fueling and feeding the good wolf within you and course correct. Much love to you. Remember your divinity. And again, finding that false hope and distraction outside of yourself, jumping from one person to the next, it's really ultimately a distraction if you have not done your inner healing, your inner shadow work. So end that path of destruction. Much love to you. Shalom.